Oh, it's not. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Yes, it is Tuesday night, and we are so happy to be back with you. Did you miss us? I believe you did. I hope you're tuning in because we missed you, and we're back. It's Tuesday. Let's talk football. The Roundtable, of course. I'm Nick Rosario. I missed everyone. I think I haven't been here in like 2 weeks or something. I was out doing stuff, and I had to work and all this other crap. So glad to be back, and I'm glad to be back with my people. Everybody's back this week. Delilah decided to come back from Puerto Rico, even though I thought she should have stayed longer. Just why would you want to come back from the island? I would have just stayed. So Delilah, how was your turkey day? And you spent a week with your dad. How was that?
It was wonderful. I was so happy that I got to spend time with my dad, and I still have other family over there, so it was great. I definitely needed a few more days, but I'm glad I got the time.
Absolutely. Like I said, I was like, she's not coming back, is she? She just looks like she's having too much fun. I wouldn't want to come back either. I hear you. I'd be like, nope, gotta stay longer. But Tina Winter, of course, is with us. Tina, how was your turkey day? How was your week? How you doing? How's it going?
It was great. Mom came up and stayed with me for the weekend, so we spent some time, and she came with us to the bar to watch the game on Sunday. So
There
she
you go.
had a lot of
Nice.
fun that way too. So yeah, it was great. Got to see family. I had to do the whole 3-4 hour driving extravaganza, 2 hours
Sure.
from my dad's place to my mom's side, back to the city, but that's typical for. And then I had friends over on Friday for dinner.
Nice. Oh,
So I
beautiful. Look
made
at
them
that. Sounds
turkey
like fun.
and mashed potatoes and all of that. So, yep.
Sounds delicious. I love it. Yeah, traditional turkey dinners to me are always the best, even though people deviate. The traditional turkey dinner is always awesome. Handy, my man.
Yeah,
How's
man.
Oklahoma City treating you, buddy? How was your week? How was your turkey day? How you doing? How's it going?
Oklahoma City is cold for Oklahoma City, um, which means it's been like averaging 50-degree temperatures. I know those of you, the three of you, are like, that's it. That's
That's short.
That's early summer for us.
50 is summer for sure.
Turkey Day. I think this was the first Thanksgiving in my entirety that I did not have some sort of traditional Thanksgiving food. We did not want to cook. The kids didn't feel like cooking. We decided to try and do pizza. We forgot we were in Oklahoma City, which even though it's a large city, it still got some rural values. Every single pizza place was closed. So we pulled the Christmas Story and we had Chinese minus the duck. It seems to be smiling at me, you see. So we had Chinese food. We watching football Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I hosted karaoke. And so tell Kev I'm coming for the crown when I come to Chicago. You might have to rent the mic.
There we go.
And then Sunday I was pleasantly surprised to see the Falcons playing on the local affiliate.
National television, right? You got a national game.
Yeah, they won. I'll talk more about that later. So it was a good weekend until I had to go back to work yesterday. So
well, that's everything. Yeah, I feel you there. Yeah, no, I had to work Turkey Day, so I didn't really. I went to my sister's for a couple hours after work, and then Mom and I had our traditional Thanksgiving on Sunday. So all in all, it was a great week. And I'm sure a lot of you saw if you're on Facebook, I had a very great 3 out of 4 days at the Allstate Arena. I went to wrestling both nights, and I saw Kiss last night, which it's the second concert I've seen with my father this year. And I got to tell you something. I don't know that there's a better feeling in the world than watching your father, who's 70 years old now, act like he's 16 again. To just watch that is just hilarious, and to watch, just to see his face light up and the smiles and the conversation. Like, I couldn't have had a better weekend, to be honest with you. I got to see all my family, and I got to do that. So that was fun. But let's carry on. It's football time. We are back. So as always, every football game starts with what? A coin toss. Let's get it on. Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I got to say, this is an oddity here at the Roundtable because, as you know, we like to do our team recaps, but this week, all of our teams won. All 3 of our teams were victorious. That never happens. Never. There's always one of us with a frown on our face talking about how team sucks and all this.
Oh, I'm still
but not
not
this
happy.
week, folks. Well, we're going to get to that, Handy. We're going to let you talk about how unhappy you still are. But we're going to let you go first. No, we're going to let you go first. Now, your Falcon, you're going first, pal. I want to hear everything you got to say because you're still upset even though your team beat the Saints, putting themselves in a position right now as we stand to contend for the division, even though you say they stink. So, Handy, what's going on in Atlanta, man? What's the story, bro? Let's go. Tell me.
Right, they do stink. The Falcons still stink. They beat the Saints. The NFC South is arguably for a good while there. The AFC South was except for that team up in Indianapolis with the guy with the really big head that looked like a giant axe wedge. They were really good, but the rest of there was one team in Tennessee that was good for a little bit. Rest in peace to Air McNair. But for a good while, the AFC South was like, whoa. And now the NFC South. The NFC South in the last, let me see. I'm just going to go back 14 years. I'm just going to go back 14 years because I met the missus 14 years ago, and we used to have this thing in our group where we would go to this one bar in Manassas, Virginia, and watch football every Sunday. All day. Like, it was an all-day thing. We'd go have breakfast before the 11 o'clock game. We would not leave until after the night game was over, and the tabs would be like, it was insane the amount of food and drink you could get for cheap. I mean, we'd be there all day, and our tab would be like $40 for food and drinks. But anyway, I digress. At that point, the Falcons, the Falcons, the Bucks, the Saints, and the Panthers were all like running 10 games a season, 10 or better. Matter of fact, I think that year, 2010 or whatever, the Falcons were 13-3. They were just like killing everybody, Anyway, so in this 14 years, in this decade and a half, the Falcons have managed to go from the cream of the crop in the NFC to the bottom of the absolute barrel. That game was painful to watch. I would watch a little bit of it, and then I would just have to go put a load of clothes in the laundry and then maybe, clean out the refrigerator or something, and then I'd come back. It was just painful. It was painful to watch. Like, matter of fact, when I turned the game on, they were winning. I was out in the street getting groceries when my wife said, the Falcons are winning. I said, oh, okay, cool. The minute I walked in the door, Desmond Ridder interception. Mm-hmm. And I know you all saw my Facebook post. What made Coach think that it was a good idea to put Desmond Ridder back in the game? Like, I think the Falcons won in spite of Desmond Ridder. I'm not trying to dog Desmond Ridder. I think that Desmond Ridder was a very good quarterback. I dogged him when he was at Cincinnati, little college rivalry. I think Desmond Ridder was a good quarterback. But Desmond Ridder could not have fallen a worse fate than to wind up going to the black hole of professional football that is currently the Atlanta Falcons. They can't get out of their own way. If it wasn't for Young Hiku, we could potentially have no wins. I'm not even making that up. I'm glad they won. I'm going to shut up and say I'm glad they won, but I'm tired of watching this. And part of the reason that they won, guess what they did today? Guess what they did? They threw the ball to Jake London. and they gave the ball to Bijan. Who'd have thunk? You throw the ball to your best receiver and hand the ball off to your best running back, you might win a football game. That's all I got.
Fair enough. Because again, obviously, still some questions about Ritter there in Atlanta. What are you going to do? You got what?
Him and
well, I mean, you may do that. I don't know. Again, it looks like they went back to him. You put Heineke in, and Heineke didn't exactly light up the scoreboard. So you went back to Ritter, and you get a victory. So I'm assuming going forward, Ritter's the guy for now. So, but Atlanta will take the victory. And then, that NFC South is a toss-up right now. I might as well flip a coin to see who wins that division. Tina.
Is more like it.
Yeah, you're hilarious. Tossing is good. I haven't heard that phrase in a while. Is anybody? I mean, is everybody out there? You know what tossing your cookies means, right? We don't have to explain that one.
Yeah,
okay, good.
Why not?
Right, exactly. Just making sure everybody's in. Well, I mean, even if people watching,
Generations.
Right, exactly. So, Tina, go ahead. Like, your Broncos victorious, and now. Here's the thing, Tina, real quickly before I let you get into your spiel. In Russ, do we trust now or do we not trust Russ? Or what are we doing with Russ? Or what do you think? You have a winning record, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't you guys 6-5 now?
Yes, we are.
If I'm not mistaken. So you're over 500 now. You're winning, but in Russ we trust, or do we throw Russ out with the bathwater? Like the baby with the bathwater. What do you say?
Well, in my opinion, we can't throw him out with the bathwater because then we'd be throwing out our entire household budget. So we got to keep Russ. Now, what I do think is happening, and I do think the offensive playing calling is a little pedantic and not as flashy as it could be. I think that Sean is doing what he needs. He needs Russ to be a manager, have it run a lot, first and second downs, and then on third, if they need something, play action or something long to throw or an option or something, that's what they're doing. Because, I mean, there's flashes of the old Russ. When he ran that one in, he ran the touchdown in, the second touchdown we got. That thing was old Russ, just typical old Russ. And he is who he is. Now, there are a lot of Denver fans that do not like Russell because they think he does check down too much, but I can't do anything about that. So I trust Russ right now. I actually did say, let's cook earlier this week. So yeah, it's next week's game is going to be the big deciding factor. So the Texans Broncos game, which the NFL, we talked about how the NFL can move classes around and stuff. The NFL actually ended up pulling the Broncos game up to the noon game from 3:00. So it's talk to me Sunday, next Sunday, and I'll tell you how I really feel or don't feel. And I'm getting some weird looking glare, right? I don't know. It's just I'm freaking out over here a little bit, looking at myself in the thing. But I love this team. I really do. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. They're fighting. They're not getting the defense is just opportunistic. As I said, I'm trying. They're just so opportunistic. They're creating mismatches. They're getting balls that they shouldn't be getting. So the defense they're good. So we'll see what happens. I mean, wild card, right now the Colts are in 7th. They've got the last wild card spot right now.
Right.
But us, the Texans, Broncos, and Texans and Colts are all tied at 6-5.
Right.
And there's some pretty tough games coming up. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
I mean, if we beat Houston, there's some people in the national media that are going to have to start eating some crow. So
we're all for the national media eating a lot of things, but right, crow is definitely one of them. Delilah, yes, our beloved Bear gets a win, but there's, to me, kind of with Handy, to me, there's still so much that I just want to shake my head at. And I would like to just get Eberflus and Getsy in one room and question them like, they were my trapped prisoner and smack the crap out of them and be like, what the hell is your problem? I mean, there's just so much you can go with this game. But yes, we win 12-10. Fantastic. We're 4-8. Still in last place in the division that we're in because we finally got a division win for the first time since like October of 2021. But your thoughts on this game, Delilah? What did you think? I'll give you my opinion in a moment.
Okay. First of all, I know we didn't get any touchdowns, but Justin Fields did have 217 yards, no interceptions. And I think that it's unfair that he gets dogged so much when he had over 200 yards passing. Now, there were a lot of drop balls. People saw that. There was a lot of stops, fumbles, not, you know what I mean? Like, and we couldn't get to the end zone, not even rushing. As a team, we had like 100 yards rushing as a team between 3 players because Foreman was out. And it proves just how important he is to our rushing, and I hope that we keep him. But and then what gets caused are the screen plays. Like,
No, we're the
defense. They had
go ahead.
They intercepted Dobbs 4 times. So it wasn't for lack of our defense keeping us in the game. All we got out of 4 interceptions were field goals. Thank you, Cairo Santos, for giving us all our points that game.
Yeah. He was our leading scorer always, like always.
He
Right.
is our leading
That's y'all's
scorer.
version of Young and Cool.
Exactly. Cairo Santos show. Fantastic. Give me an extension.
Even if everybody's like, oh, he missed that first kick. Yeah, that's it. He made all the rest. He's consistent.
Yeah, he is, though. He's only missed 2 field goals all year. So,
the last 5 seasons he's been with us, consistently making his field goals and his PAT. Okay? Like, he's doing his job. So it's like, and it's just frustrating to see Fields put over 200 yards and we cannot get a touchdown. It's just like, come on. And everybody's like, oh, you need a new quarterback. I said, do we need new coaches who know how to actually coach a quarterback and play to their strengths, right? And hide their weaknesses. That's what good coaches do. They go, let's do this. And then, okay, we'll work on your passing. We know he can rush. Why are we not putting him? Like, he was breaking all sorts of records when we let him go, right? Then all of a sudden, they came in and started playing all this, like, weird stuff with him. And I don't appreciate it. And I think it's important for him to get one more season with coaches who have experience, like actually quality people who know how to develop guys before we just throw him away. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't draft a quarterback just to have him in the background. It's dumb not to, especially since we're going to get all these picks from Carolina because doesn't mean I agree with you, Nick, when you commented on the comment on the Facebook page that I don't think we should draft someone in the first round, that because there are other needs. But I'm not saying we shouldn't draft a quarterback. Right. But I am saying that before we throw away Fields with the bathwater, as you were saying, let's actually get him some decent coaches to actually play to his strengths and really see what he can do. And then we do trade him, then he'll be of value because people will realize, hey, he can play. It's just the coaches sucked, Yeah. So like, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Great. We have 4 wins now.
Yeah, we're forward. But my biggest thing, and what I want to figure out, because help me with this one, anybody, why in a crucial series on defense is Montez Sweat not on every play, and why is Jalen Johnson not out there on every play? You're 2 of your best defensive guys, and they're on the sidelines during one of the most important defensive drives of that entire game. And you're like, wait a minute. Did we not? And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we just give this guy a 4-year extension for all this money? Mm-hmm. And in the most crucial drive of the game. He's on the sideline for most of the. What the hell are you doing? Like, I tried to give Eberflus early on the benefit of the doubt, and as the weeks go on, I'm just like, I'm so on Delilah's side with just going, would you get rid of this bum already? Like, please? Like, somebody do something, because I watching this, because I watched highlights and I read some of the articles. You know, I tried to catch up because I didn't see the game live, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me that your two best defensive guys were not on the play for every field of that last drive. That, to me, that's coaching. That's horrible. That absolutely cannot happen. He should be gone. There's a lot of reasons why, but to me, that's one of those where that just takes the cake. That's just bad coaching. Like, that proves to me that maybe you don't know what the hell you're doing, and you need to go, Matt Eberflus. And you can take Luke Getsy with you.
Yes,
and as the old saying goes, F you and the horse you rode in on, because you can just get out of town quick. And I don't even care. Because I'm done with all that nonsense. Right. I'm done with all that nonsense now, pal. It's done.
I didn't realize this, but Luke Getsy actually interviewed for the head coaching job at the same time Hackett did in Denver.
You dodged a bullet, Tina. You should be grateful.
I know.
Oh, that guy's horrible. Terrible. Well, anyways, but there you go, folks. At least all of our teams got wins this week. We can be happy about that. Some of our, obviously, our teams still have a few issues we have to work through, right? Tina's probably, right now, Tina's in the best position, probably out of the three of our teams. Again, we'll see what they do against the Texans this weekend. I'll talk about that later in Nick's picks. You will see that later. But let's move on. We got coaching changes. We got firings. It's fantastic. Everybody's getting fired now. It's good towards the end of the season. You start the season. Except for Anthony Andy, because
looking at you,
Anthony
Arthur Smith.
Oh, we knew who you were talking about, sir. We know who you're talking about. But we're gonna bring on one of our buddies. You know him well. He's an old timer or whatever. You know, he's been around. But Sean is going to join us now. Sean Spencer, ladies and gentlemen. Sean, come on in. There he is. What's up, Shawnee? Sean, how are you? How was your Turkey Day this past weekend? How was it?
I mean, it was good. It was good. Minus about 4 hours, but other than that, we ate early. Everything else was good. It was a great day. It was a great day.
Well, of course, we brought you on because, as we all know, you are a Washington Commanders fan, and you guys decided. I mean, outside of trading half of your defensive line a couple of weeks back, you have also now fired your defensive coordinator, Mr. Jack Del Rio. And it fired your defensive backs coach, Brent Wieselmeyer, however you pronounce that. What are your thoughts on this, man? What is your opinion of all this? I mean, all these moves and what the Commanders are doing. Is all of this moving towards the end of Ron Rivera in Washington? What do you think, man? You're the expert here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the writing's been on the wall ever since, Dan Snyder was ousted out of Washington and the Josh Harris group came in. I mean, we knew what was happening, and I think a lot of Washington fans thought it was going to be an immediate change, but no. And I love what the Harris group did. They wanted to see what they had, and we've seen Ron Rivera struggled. Jack Del Rio, listen, it's about time for him. I mean, if we look back, there was a stat that said at the 4 seasons that he's been here, in the first 4 games, our defense has averaged giving up something like 28 points a game. And then from games like 5 to 17, it would go under 20 points, but it's still double digits. So, I mean, I was one that, used the phrase bend but don't break all the time. But this year, just the bottom fell out. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you're not getting the pass rush now because of Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Look, they really weren't doing much when they were in the game, for us at least. So for me, this is still part of the course. I mean, we knew when Chase and Montez got traded away that people, everybody needs to, get their resume ready. Make sure you got good film and tape on yourself and all that good stuff. We're not looking great on the field. Yeah, so I'm glad with that one. And then with the other guy, the DB's coach, this guy was like a high school coach. Like, once Chris Harris, we lost him this offseason. He went to the Titans. Our DB's coach, they kind of elevated this guy. This guy's like a no name. And for me, when I heard this, I was like, oh, I was like, oh, okay, Jack Del Rio got fired. And I was like, who's the other guy? Who? Okay, all right. Oh man, it's like one of those things where you're like, hey, nice to meet you. Okay, goodbye. I mean, it's like I feel like this is the first time I'm getting anything any type of knowledge on him, but hey, at the end of the day, we're at the same spot. I mean, all of us except for Tina and her Broncos, but the rest of us we're in the same spot, so we're kind of jostling for draft pick position and all this type of stuff. So,
for sure.
I mean, we know what's coming.
Yeah, no, and again, it's sad to see because you and I obviously talk a lot about this, and I've always made fun of your Commanders just because you were high on Sam Howell, and we would joke about that and go back and forth. But the fact that our teams are both basically in the same boat now, it's just not funny anymore because it's just not fun to watch. So it's hard to make fun of you when my team is just as bad, if not worse. So, I'm going to give you a break on that one, pal. I can't say anything. But the Steelers also made a move, guys. Matt Canada was fired about a week and a half, 2 weeks back as the offensive coordinator. And then all of a sudden, the Steelers get 400 yards of offense for the first time in forever. So what do we think of that one? Here's my question with this. Depending on who they really bring in, I'm sure they have I don't know who the offensive coordinator is calling plays now, but you've still got a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. You still got a young receiver in Kenny Pickens, and you still have a fairly young Najee Harris. You have elements there that can make Pittsburgh a good offense, but they never seem to score more than 17 points in a damn game. So does this bode well for Pittsburgh going forward, getting rid of Matt Canada? Anybody feel free to chime in with that one and let me know what you think.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
you go ahead.
No, I think it's interesting that happened because remember, one of our coin toss topics a while back was Kenny Pickett's comment that he quickly deleted, and we're like, oh, I don't know. They made Fields apologize for his comments, and I guess it turns out that these quarterbacks are having legitimate gripes. And then have to apologize because you're not supposed to put that out there, right? You're not supposed to put that out there. But
sorry.
Right. But it sounds like they really are having legitimate problems, right? And so when they're saying something, sometimes we're quick to judge really quickly, but they're the ones in that locker room, right? They're the ones dealing with these coaches every single day and having to listen to whatever it is they're having to deal with. So by this happening, maybe Pickett was right. When he made his comment, he had to delete. You know what I mean? And so we'll see if they can continue, improving and, because as we know, Tomlin is not a losing coach. He's never been, right? This is the first time that he really saw himself in that position. And so, if the team now continues to win games, right? And they pick up speed and we see their offense pick up. Sometimes it is. Sometimes the coaches who just can't lead and need to go, right? And so we'll see how they finish out the season. I wish we could hear from Sydney. I'm sure he'd have a better insight because that's his team. He'd have more more knowledge on the thing. But like I said, I think obviously Pickett's comment earlier in the season was actually warranted.
Definitely. Go ahead, Tina.
But I think we also need to think about it. They had almost 400 yards of offense and only scored 16 points.
16 points, right? Exactly.
That's I 100% agree. Canada was not working out for him. He was not working. But I don't know. And they're also in the playoff hunt.
Mm-hmm.
They're what? So they're 7-4.
Browns
are right behind them at 7-4. And I looked at their schedule. They have to play the Colts, Seahawks, and the Ravens are their big games.
Yeah, they're big games
coming up. So
scored 16 points isn't going to cut it. So
I'm not saying this because I want to piss people off.
Wait, you don't?
Is it all?
Well, why are we here?
Or is it kind of maybe the QB isn't who they think he is?
Well, that's something that I definitely think we need to dive into. But I mean, we keep throwing out the number 16 points. Let's be honest. This defense is a team where all you need to do offensively is score 16 points and they'll get it done. Like
that's why they're winning.
They were playing,
Well,
they're playing the Bengals. So 16 points is going to win that game with the Bengals.
They did that to the Ravens as well. They've done that to Buffalo, who I know is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but they've done that throughout the year. Let's be honest. They've had troubles on their offense all year long, and somehow they've still won 7 games. Right. I looked at this team for the season, and I thought this is a 2-3 win team just because I, like you, Tina, do not trust Kenny Pickett. They don't really have a line. George Pickens, we know, I mean, he came from being unstoppable at Georgia, and now they're struggling winning games, and he was very vocal saying, free me. You know what I mean? So honestly, I think that defense is definitely hiding a lot of issues. Matt Canada was a serious problem, absolutely. But I do think we need to look at Kenny Pickett as well and be like, I mean, like Delilah said, he's chirping at the mouth, but having over 400 yards and only 16 points, something ain't working.
Yeah. Right.
But also, they also played the Ravens earlier in the season. The Ravens are on a juggernaut now. So will 16 points be enough? Now, I agree. The AFC North, they're an AFC North, right? Okay, is a black and blue. You're going to have low-scoring games in that division. But still, is 16 going to beat the Chiefs? Is it going to beat Jacksonville? Is it good if you make it to the Super Bowl? Is it going to beat the Eagles?
Right.
That's why. That's where it gets a little
right.
Your offense has got.
No, I agree. No, for sure.
They've earned their seed 100%. Yeah. Are they going to be able to keep that seed? Is the question I have.
That's a different story.
Through the rest, 100%. Through the next 5 weeks.
Right. And they don't have the extra week like the NFC because it flipped to the NFC this season, right? It goes back and forth now, so they don't even have that extra time like they did last season. That's why we were all excited over seeing all these teams, right? The Steelers were they were all after that final spot, and it was fun to watch, and it went down to the wire, but they don't have that extra.
Right, that last week,
Yep.
Well, and also, so that Canada gone there, like I said, we'll have to see what the Steelers do the rest of the way. Of course, let's move on to our Carolina Panthers, who have they really cleaned house. They're 1-10 so far this year. They went ahead and fired their head coach, Frank Reich, who thank you for that, Alec. We hope your holidays were good as well. We've all had pretty good ones from what I can tell. Alec Jober, thank you. But Frank Reich is gone now. Head coach from Carolina, 1-10 this year. Deuce Staley, their associate head coach and the running backs coach, gone as well. And everybody's favorite backup quarterback, Josh McCown, is out as the quarterback coach there in Carolina. But here's what I found very interesting, and this is what I want to get into. And Handy, I'm going to go to you first with this, my friend. David Tepper bought the team in 2018, okay, became the owner. Since that time, he has fired 3 head coaches. He fired Ron Rivera after week 13 of 2019. He fires Matt Rule last year after week 5, and has now fired Frank Reich after week 11 here in 2023. Do we have a Jerry Jones type situation where the owner is causing the football team to kind of he's putting himself above what the team might need or what the team is doing? Because I got to be honest, for me, this is kind of a red flag. You've only been the owner 5 years, and you're going to go on your 4th head coach now. Handy, what do we think about this? Is David Tepper part of the problem here in Carolina? Because let's be honest about one thing. You got you got your rookie quarterback. Sorry, real quick. Rookie quarterback. You don't have an offensive line. You don't have a number 1 receiver because you gave to the Bears for those picks. And you don't really have that great of a defense. So what's going on here, Handy? What's in Carolina? Do we start to look at ownership and go, David Tepper, what the hell are you doing?
Well, first of all, that's what them folks in Carolina get for putting mustard in their barbecue sauce, but that's a whole different story.
Wow, watch your mouth. I'm a Carolina boy. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Okay, that's the wrong way to do it, bro. Yeah, watch yourself. suitcase.
That would be something like me as a
Anyway,
Yankee would
No.
say.
Okay. Anyway, about 15, 20 years ago, there was a commercial where Jerry Jones came out of the booth and snatched the headphones off. The coach was like, "Give me this, you're fired." I think it was a commercial, something like that. This is a prime example of this. Sean, you and I talk about this. You and I both talk about this individually, separately on the college football shows. Part of the problem with firing coaches is if you get a guy in and he's only been there for a short time and you don't give him any time whatsoever to make any adjustments, to build the staff they want, to build the program they want, who's going to want to come coach there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be real. He's not going to get let's say Sean Payton wasn't coaching right now, but this year he's going, man, I'm thinking about really coaching. He's not going to want to coach at Carolina. People are saying Belichick is thinking about leaving. The rumors are starting to fly that maybe he wants to get out of Foxborough. He's not going to come and coach it. You're not going to get a quality coach that's going to come and coach for you. You're going to get the fly-by-night guys. You're going to get the guys that have the losing records other places. You're going to get like the one you said, Sean, where you're going, I'm sorry, who are you? That's who you're going to get to come and coach for you. And you're going to, nobody's going to want to come and play for you. I honestly, if he keeps going this route, we're going to start seeing those guys that come in, get drafted, play one game, and then they sitting out the rest of the season with mysterious ailments because they don't even want to be in that on that squad. So 100%. What you said, Frank Reich, 11 games. That's it. This is first season there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. 11 games. 1-10, but 11 games.
In his first season, 11 games in, as decimated as that team is, the owner can't. Instead of going to him and saying, "What can I do to help you?" Right. It's your first season. You got an alibi. Mm-hmm. What can I do to help you build this squad? Because we want to build like Josh, your boy Josh said, we want to build a culture of winning here. Mm-hmm. He just said, you know what? Give me your key card. Yeah, definitely 100%. There's not now with the reputation. Just in the 5 years he's on that team, I guarantee you, aside from guys that are just trying to get head coach on their resume, no coach worth their salt is going to want to come and coach there, except maybe Urban Meyer to get a couple more dollars.
Yeah, the price tag
where he is.
Right.
I can see Josh McDaniels trying to make a chance for that.
I could see somebody coming in because of the price tag, but I do agree it's going to be like a fly by night. Because Washington, for all intents and purposes, somewhat similar in a similar situation, or like right past that. When Snyder was here, nobody wanted to come coach here. Nobody wanted to be a part of it because they know Snyder was going to micromanage things. But that's another thing that's going on now with Josh Harris coming here, where it's kind of like, all right, do you get rid of Ron Rivera right now, or do you let him play out? But like you said, Anthony, other teams and other coaches are looking at them and being like, all right, how do you handle this? Because if you're just going to throw them away right away, well, then what chance do I have? You know what I'm saying? Especially seeing that roster. So yeah, this isn't a good look in Carolina. And since last year, they had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. They traded away at the trade deadline. The guy formerly known as Robbie Anderson. Now he's Chosen something. I don't know.
Robbie Chosen.
Yeah. C-Mac is in what's it called?
San Francisco.
DJ Moore is with you guys. They literally have stripped this thing down to bare bones, and then you're asking somebody to come win with one player. Like, it's not fair. Yeah. It's not fair to the coach.
Yeah, with a rookie quarterback to boot, it's not like it's an established quarterback that's won one game out of 11. This kid's trying to learn the game and the speed and all that, and you just said, okay, well, never mind. We're 1-10, so we got to get rid of the coach and everybody. Again, it'd be one thing you got rid of the head coach, but you also obviously thought there was a problem with the running backs coach, even though you don't have a running back, and you have a problem with the quarterbacks coach. You have a problem with the quarterbacks coach because you fired him too, but he's got a rookie quarterback that he's trying to. So I don't know if David Tepper has some idea in his head of that this is the right thing to do, but
I don't know.
To me, it looks like he screwed Carolina for at least the next year, at least 2 to 3 years, because again, now you're going to start over with a new head coach. Now you're going to have a second-year quarterback with a new head coach. Gee, this sounds a lot like Chicago in some ways. I wonder what's going on here. Anyways, but so
we gave our coach 2 seasons. That's enough.
I don't. No, we don't. Believe me, Delilah. We want him gone.
We want him gone. To be completely honest, the only person that could have any hope of pulling that thing together in Carolina is Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver. That's it.
He's a Richard Dean Anderson.
Some gum and a lighter and some tape.
The thing that we're seeing though with these teams that don't have the right coaching staff is now you have these quarterbacks that are coming up in these drafts, and they're very vocal about not wanting to come to these teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because
they are.
Caleb Williams said, "I stay in California."
No, like what is the point of going to a team after seeing what they're doing to their young quarterbacks now?
It's true.
And they're not going to help you. They're not going to help you. I do not blame them for going, I don't know. I'd rather stay back a year.
Or you could have another situation, the Eli Manning / John Elway situation, where they just say, "Look, don't draft me, but if you do, I'm going to sit out for the next."
That's what Bo Jackson did.
Bo Jackson did it. Elway did it. Eli Manning got the trade he wanted.
It's to a bigger issue. It's to a bigger issue because Nick, you were talking about how they had Matt Rule a year ago, and he only got a year or 2 years or something like that. I mean, there's this new thing, and Anthony, you know about this in college. Just same with the pros. Everybody wants the next great thing, the next genius, the next offensive guru or whatever. And you get these guys, but you expect them to just this is what you got, just make do with it. And it's not fair to these guys. You know what I mean? But
the only player I can think of right now that kind of got plugged into a situation and it's starting to turn around. But I mean, that's also, it's not just him, it's also front office decisions and things like that. Is Sunshine down in Carolina.
Yeah.
Not Carolina, Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine.
Call him Sunshine. He's Sunshine.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people do right.
Sunshine.
Yeah. Well, that's the only reason they fired their coach was because of a toxic environment. So that was a different situation, and they made the right call in that case. That was different. So
yeah, no, but again, it's just the NFL. I think this year, among all others, and there's always stuff in the NFL, but man, when you look at the parity and you just look at what has gone on this year, I mean, with the refs, with the coaching changes, and all this stuff, it's just been a crazy year in the NFL. And I think it's just one of those years where, like, I can honestly say, I think for me that I'm not going to predict anything for the rest of the year because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. And I have no idea how this is going to go. And I just think it's one of those seasons that just everything is just so up in the air. And you just, every week is something different. There's some different story. There's some different this or that. So, yeah, I look forward to the rest of the season. But, man, I have no idea what is going to happen in the next 6 weeks left in the season that we have. But, listen, Sean, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. Anytime you can come on, my friend. We are going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with the rest of the show, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned. Don't leave us. Come on back right after this break, okay? Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Tina, and welcome to the Mile High Minute.
Well, man, I'm the field. Oh, I thought it was the ugly. That's bad.
You're the bad.
Oh, okay. Kicking game.
You're the ugly.
I'm talking about the ugly. And you know what's ugly? I'll tell you what's ugly. It's calls for Vance Joseph to fire him. John Payne put together a solid game plan 2 weeks in a row. This is a big. But overall, I think completely much we just need to be some of the Bills. This defense performed at an exceptional level against very good teams.
This was our third win in a row. Very happy. I'm just concerned about
All right. Well, of course, that was an ad for the Mile High Minute, which is something Tina's doing with her fellow Bronco cohorts there. Where's the bar where you guys watch the game, Tina? Here in Chicago, where do you watch the games at?
It's called Almost Home. It's up by Wrigley
Almost
Field,
Home, okay.
in Wrigleyville.
Yeah, great
Yeah,
in Clarksville. Yeah.
yeah. So those that are kind of like want to follow the playoffs and stuff, we're doing it kind of right after the game. We're getting together. We're discussing the good, the bad, the ugly of the game, and we're gonna keep on doing that through the rest of the season. So those will pop up.
Nope, sounds great.
Come and watch the show. I have a lot of fun doing it. We're working the kinks out right now.
Well, of course, it just started, right? So, but we will look forward to that because again, it's always, and actually sometimes that's the best time to talk about something because it's still fresh in your mind. You just saw everything. Like it's probably a good time to actually do some, something like that. So we look forward to that. Look forward to seeing that in the future. Right now, we're going to continue with, of course, Delilah's back. So, of course, it's time for another edition of This Week in NFL History. Take it away, Delilah. Get ready.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope everybody had a nice holiday break. And if you were working, or I get that. I've done that before. So I hope however you celebrate, you had a nice time. Because I've done those too. All right, so let's get into it. Because last week was Thanksgiving, I figure I'd kind of do those kinds of This Week in the NFL. So it won't really be a week, but I just felt it would be something good to cover. So November 17th, 1869, it was the official first Thanksgiving game that you could think of, even though it was in professional football. So November 17th, 1869, Philadelphia's Evening Telegraph newspaper posted the following message. A football match between 22 players of the Young America Cricket Club and the Germantown Cricket Club will take place on Thanksgiving Day at 12:30 p.m. on the grounds of the Germantown Club. So it wasn't like a main staple, but hey, that's when we kind of started moving football into that Thanksgiving tradition. So Thanksgiving Day football itself goes back to more high school and college because everything always starts there, right? Before it goes to the majors, everything always started really in college football. And it started kind of fading away in college, although you still have your, your tradition that happens. The Thanksgiving tradition began back in 1876. Now, this is where we go a little bit deeper, when the Intercollegiate Football Association began hosting their championship game on the holiday. But the tradition didn't pick up steam until 1880, when the association moved the end-of-year game to New York. The very first Thanksgiving contest occurred just 6 years after the inception of, the holiday. But it is still alive today in the NFL in two franchise cities. Of course, everybody knows Detroit and Dallas. However, Detroit is the one that's been doing it the longest. The Detroit Lions have played at home on Thanksgiving year every year since 1934, except when the games were paused between 1939 to 1944, because I don't know if you know this, but World War II was going on during that time period. So, of course, there were no Thanksgiving football games happening during that time period. The annual holiday tradition expanded to add a home game for Dallas Cowboys in the 1960s. Beginning in 1968, Dallas has only missed playing on the holiday in 1975 and 1977. But again, they're the staple, right? It's always Detroit. It's always Dallas. However, when it comes to Thanksgiving Day football NFL style, again, most of them think of the Lions. And this is why it started in 1934. It was their first year in Detroit after a local radio executive, George A. Richards, purchased who they were known as the Portsmouth Spartans. Okay, so that's where Detroit kind of started. And then they moved the team, the Spartans, from Ohio to Detroit. So the Spartans were actually members of the NFL really briefly from 1930 to 1933. But that's when they moved into Detroit, and they've been playing football on Thanksgiving ever since. Also, the only team that hasn't played a Thanksgiving game, because all of them has had a scheduled Thanksgiving game, are the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're the only team that has never played a Thanksgiving game. All right. Some more kind of Thanksgiving stuff going on, not just the how it started. On November 22, 1944, at Brick Stadium, Detroit, Michigan, the fans of Cleveland Rams had plenty to be thankful for on that day when Jim Benton, the of the dependable Cleveland Rams. I know, right? It's weird when you hear how often the Rams moved around, but they were the Cleveland Rams. Their tight end gained a NFL record 303 yards against Detroit Lions during that Thanksgiving Day game. The mark of 303 yards remained an NFL record for 40 years and was tested in 1950 by Cloyce Box of the Lions in 1950, who went to 302 yards in that game. Then it wasn't until 1985 season when the record was shattered by Stephon Page of the Kansas City Chiefs in 1985 with 309 yards. And then we move on to 1989 with Flipper Anderson of the LA, that time the Rams, right? Because the Rams moved around a bit. They chalked up a remarkable 336 yards. So there you go, Thanksgiving Day game. Then there's another game called the Bounty Game. This was in 1989, Philly at Dallas. The story started earlier in the season when the Eagles coach Buddy Ryan cut his punter, Luis Zendejas. And basically, a lot of unkind words were said and exchanged during an exit interview. Zendejas later signed with the Cowboys and would meet his old team on Thanksgiving in 1989. Reports were saying that Ryan and other coaches met with their linebacker Jussie Small during the week leading up to this Thanksgiving Day, and they basically said, to go after Zendejas. So there were rumors saying that bounties, that's called the Bounty Game, that bounties were placed on these players and that they basically wanted them taken out of the game. And so, again, these are all rumors, but it's still called the Bounty Game for a reason, because he did take out their punter in the third quarter. So Zendejas was taken out after a punt in the third quarter by their linebacker, Jussie Small. And so that's when a lot of those rumors continued to take place. And then after that game, Cowboys head coach Jimmy Johnson and, Ryan were not exchanging pleasantries after that game, because people are insisting that Coach Buddy Ryan, put a bounty during that game against Zendejas and other players, including at the time quarterback Troy Aikman. So anyway, just putting that out there. Then Turkey Day 1998, the infamous OT coin toss. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but basically at the Steelers game, at the Lions OT coin toss game, the Jerome Bettis went out for overtime, and being the visitor, got the call to do the toss. And everyone says that when he supposedly called tails, okay, the referee at this time was Phil Luckett. He flipped the coin, and Bettis was heard saying tails. While the coin flipped through the air, Luckett reached to retrieve the coin, and he announced that Bettis had called heads. And so a lot of people were really upset about that, because then the Lions won the toss, and the Steelers were like, no way. Their players on the sideline saying no. There were arguments. They were like, there's no way. He actually didn't call heads. He called tails. And so because of that, now there was a change to that, because the Lions did end up winning that game. This incident changed the coin toss at all levels of football to have the captain call the heads or tails before the coin is flipped. Then the ref will verbally confirm to all the witnesses that they're agreeing to it. That's why it takes a while now, right? That's why you're like, oh, why are they doing that? Because of this. Because there was an argument saying, no, they didn't call that. And that's why now you will have to wait until he literally asks everyone that's standing around going, what did you hear? What did you hear? Before doing the coin toss. So that's where that came from. And of course, the most infamous one of all that has become the highlight of the NFL blooper reel, the Mark Sanchez butt fumble. It happened on Turkey Day 2012. That is when the infamous butt fumble occurred. It was Thanksgiving Day 2012. I'm so sorry, Mark Sanchez. That will forever live in football infamy. But that is
Mark Sanchez don't eat no more butt roast after that.
A butt fumble happened. All right, happened on Turkey Day.
I put it in the chat, but Sanchez was one of the announcers on my game on Sunday.
Oh Lord. Yeah, so there's your butt fumble. It happened on Turkey Day 2012. So
well, I thought, wasn't there a game earlier this year where something similar happened that Sanchez was calling the game, and like the quarterback ran into his center, and like they made the joke about the butt fumble, and Sanchez just kind of laughed about it. But it's pretty funny. You have to admit, it's so funny.
That's when it happened, and then I wanted to take a moment, and I know I'm pivoting, but I have to recognize that the Washington Commanders honored the late Sean Taylor yesterday because it marked the 16-year anniversary of his death.
Oh, it's been 16 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was yesterday, 16 years ago. You know, sadly, as we know, Sean Taylor passed away on November 27th, 2007, due to injuries caused from a gunshot. He was only 24. CBS did play a touching video featuring Taylor's daughter, where she reflected on memories of her dad and what it's like not having him around. Taylor was the number 5 overall pick in the 2004 NFL draft. He'd accomplished a lot in his football career despite an early death. Star safety for the Miami Hurricanes of the early 2000s. Taylor won a BCS national championship in 2001 before being named a unanimous All-American selection in 2003. And even though he wasn't in the NFL very long because of this tragedy, he was already making an impact, and God knows where he would have been, how far he could have gone. He went to have immediate success in the NFL, tallying 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 76 total tackles as a rookie. During his short NFL career, Taylor played in 55 games while posting 302 tackles, total tackles, 2 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery, 12 receptions, and 41 passes defended. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler and was named second-team All-Pro in 2007 after his death. And so I wanted to do the Turkey Day stuff because, it just happened. But I didn't want to skip this day in NFL history without recognizing, Sean Taylor. And so
I was living in the DC area when that happened, and it was almost it was almost like a president had been assassinated. Like everything stopped. Like that was all, everybody shifted. Nobody talked about anything else the rest of the day but Sean Taylor, and this was on every single sports channel. It was all over ESPN. And having lived in that area, it's amazing I was in that area for so long. Sean and I never met until this.
Right.
At the point they were still the Redskins. Skins fans were just distraught. It was almost like Michael Jackson. Wait a minute, 16 years ago, that would have been 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
2007.
It was
2009.
Yeah, it was the equivalent of, for football fans, for Washington Redskins fans, that was the equivalent of the day that Michael Jackson died.
Yeah.
And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that.
No, I'm sure you're not. It was. I remember everybody was pretty much, even everyone in the NFL was broken up by that. Just being a young man and being shot like that, and just dying, like you said, dying from those injuries. But as always, thank you, Delilah, of course, for that. I always enjoy the This Week in NFL History because it just gives me more things for my trivia knowledge. Whenever I go to a trivia night, I try to hope that there's a sports category and that it's something that I can use from what you said. So I always try to pay attention to that because I'm the king of useless knowledge. That's all I have in my head. So let us move on. We appreciate that. It's time for Tina Winter and, of course, her corner office segment. So Take it away, Tina. Let's go.
All right. Well, because this is kind of a milestone we're going to be talking about, I decided I would get one of the original presenters of the show. Everybody knows her from Ladies Takeover. Delilah knows her. We all know her. We know she's also one of the biggest Cowboy fans in our group. So I'm going to play a little clip from Janae to start into my top corner of the week.
You know what? Let's go ahead and move on.
The
Ladies and
Wild
gentlemen.
Brand for number 5. Let's go.
No.
Okay, so all right, let me see. Can I get this up here? All right. Well, Delilah, looks like I might need you to pop that in. There we go. Okay, let's talk about Bland. So, with his it's okay. So everybody kind of knows it was all over the internet, this all over football and everywhere else that Deron Bland has tied the NFL record with the most TDs. Let's see. There we go. Okay. He has tied the NFL record with 4 interception returns for a TD. He has tied Eric Allen, Jim Kearney, and Ken Houston. I put these other stats to the side because this is why I decided that Bland has been on top corner every week since I started doing this. The stats are just crazy about this. More defensive touchdowns than any other team this week. He has more TDs than any wide receiver on all of those teams. He has more TDs than every wide receiver on the Jets, Giants, and Browns together. And he has more TDs than those following people that are offensive stars on their team. So, I mean, there's nothing else I could do. I couldn't cover anybody else but give this guy a shout out because he's rocking it for the Cowboys. So, hope nothing happens to him in the next couple of weeks. All right, because the Cowboys are going to need him in the run. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into what I am calling, I'm going to go over personal fouls. And I decided to do this topic because a lot of people, if you haven't been paying attention, we had a cornerback get suspended for a helmet hit. And as this discussion has kind of been going on, there's been a lot of people that are saying certain things as to why he got suspended or why this was a hit or why this wasn't a hit. And in doing the topic, let me first say this. Safety of the players is of the utmost importance. All of these rules that they have as far as personal fouls go are there because these kinds of fouls can cause injuries, season-ending injuries to people. And I also want to say, I do not have a problem with the fouls being called. That is not not my issue that I have with this. The issue I have is I think some of the calls are not being done consistently because there have been other games and other situations that I have seen a helmet to helmet hit like Kay Jackson got suspended for that weren't even called. So with us leading into the last 5 weeks of the game, last 5 weeks of the season, we're getting into playoff games and all of that. I wanted to go through personal fouls just so we could have it straight in our mind as to what the personal fouls are. But what I really want to focus in on is what the changes were this year in the rules committee, because I think that's where some of this confusion is happening as to why this was suspended and why this wasn't. So we're going to go into, let me pull this up. Okay. Sorry, guys. Let me get this up so you all can see it. Okay. Can you? There. I don't think you guys can see this. There we go. Okay. Section 2 of the rules covers personal fouls. All of personal fouls are 15 yards, automatic first down. The reason I wanted to cover these 4 main ones is these are the ones that get us fans give us grief. We get into arguments with people. We want to throw things. We want to do property damage. So I'm going to quickly go through Article 8, 9, 10, and 11. So unnecessary roughness, players in a defenseless position, impermissible use of the helmet, and roughing the passer. So with those, so unnecessary roughness. Most of these, it's very tiny little print. You might have seen also on the first slide that I had. I'm going to put this up on our website and everything on Facebook. You're going to see there is a link to the actual rules book. And you can look at these and more. But the big one I wanted to point out is this year, the change to unnecessary roughness is the pulling of an opponent off a pile of players. So like if you're trying to get your guy off somebody, you pull them off. That's an unnecessary roughness. You're going to get, that's going to be a foul, 15 yards, automatic first down. The next one that we'll go through, again, these are all, there's a lot of them, and I'm not going to go through all of them. But the big change there used to be was that it talked about launching, like you were going in for a hit with the helmet. They have split that out. So now the highlighted section that I'm showing there is saying that that's where launching is defined. Not launching as in targeting, but like if you leave your feet or you're going to hit someone, that type of, and the person is in a defenseless position, that's where launching is now defined as. If you don't launch, but you meet everything else, you're still going to get a defensive posture, unnecessary roughness type stuff. But it's not the big one that was the big change, and I did not know this until I started looking into this, is all of 10, which is impermissible use of the helmet. All of this section is new in 2023. This was changed. And this is the section that I think is why we're seeing different calls at different times, because again, refs, it's up to what they see on the field, et cetera, et cetera. But this is also why the NFL later can look at tape and find someone and or suspend someone later. But what used to happen is that highlighted section where it says use part of his helmet or face mask to butt or make forcible contact, that used to be in 8. So that's why I think we're getting some cross ideas, is some of the new rule changes have moved things to a different area. That's why I think this Article 10 helmet use is being used more and more when it wasn't used as much before. And then the last one I'm going to get into is roughing the passer. There's been a lot of these lately. And the section I'm highlighting here is a lot of people are like, well, it's subjective. It depends on what the ref thinks. But what this says, and it's kind of like the rule in baseball when it comes to base running, in baseball, who does it go to? Goes to the runner. That what they're saying in here is if it's questionable or might be considered to be questionable, it goes to the benefit of the passer. So that's why I think now when we're seeing some of these that we sit there and go, that's not it. It's going to the passer. And so a couple of other things I wanted to bring up, and this usually comes up a lot, and I wanted to do this, and I'm leading into another section I'm going to do, is Sean asked me this question, and I thought it was a good question, is are these calls, are these penalties reviewable? If they call them, can you throw the flag? Can you challenge them? You cannot challenge the foul itself. You can only challenge the enforcement of the penalty, which all of them are 15 yards and a loss of a down. Are you really? Coaches aren't going to challenge this because it's pretty set as to where it goes, where they're going. They might say, no, it should be over here versus there, but that's it. But the one thing that, so if you, the other thing I wanted, this kind of led into another thing. Intentional grounding, that comes up a lot. We'll talk about it in another series later. Intentional grounding is not reviewable in any way, shape, or form. So if they call intentional grounding, that's it. There's no review on that one. There is, so if you challenge something, and so you all know if it's challengeable, they are able to review all challengeable aspects. So let's say you're claiming that the ball, that the ground, it wasn't a fumble. All reviewable aspects of that film that they're looking at is subject to review. So if they see a major foul, such as these 4 we just talked about, they can bring that up and charge the foul at that point. So think about that in your head sometimes when you're seeing some of these calls and they're like, well, it looks like they should challenge it. Why didn't they challenge it? It could be the guy upstairs for your team saw something in that tape that they went, they're going to hit us with a penalty on this one. So kind of keep that a little bit in mind. Trying to think if there's anything else I should bring up real quick, but I think that's it. So, I mean, so seeing, like, we're talking about roughing the passer here, Nick, I don't know, did you see the highlights from last night's game? Because there's a lot of Bears fans that thought that roughing the passer should have been called.
Yes, I actually did see a clip of that, and that's the thing. Like some of them, when you see them, you go, "Yeah, that should be automatic." But as you and you talking about this, it's like I've seen ones where the guy barely touches the quarterback and they call it. So
Yeah.
you looking at the rule interpretations here, you're like, I'm a little confused still because like you'll see a guy who just slaps at the quarterback, and yet he gets called for a 15-yard roughing the passer. And you'll get other times where it looks more egregious, where the guy's literally hitting the quarterback, and they don't call it at all. So you're like, what? So I'm just like, okay,
and that's what creates.
We probably should do a whole show on refereeing one week, just because I'm sure we all have plenty of stories about all the refs this year. But that's another subject for another time. But yeah, I did see the play in which you're talking about. Yeah.
It does come down to it that it really is, a lot of refereeing is subjective. And especially with some of these calls, especially like roughing the passer or the helmet use one. Like everybody's like, oh, well, he got hit. A lot of people, when they talk about the helmet one, they're saying, well, he launched, like he was targeting. And it's like, no, the launching doesn't have anything to do with the impermissible use of a helmet. It literally is, did he go in for a butt? It's not about like launch coming off of his feet. The feet part is in section 9 now. So that's so you have to think about it when you're talking about these. You have to remind yourself, what is the actual call on the field? Is it unsportsmanlike conduct? Is it impermissible use of a helmet? Because there's different rules and different ideas, and it's all designed for safety purposes. So, I mean, that's the one thing. I personally, as a Broncos fan, do think that Kareem Jackson is being targeted by the NFL because nobody else has gotten these calls like he has. And so now if he's even within a flicker, they're nailing him. And they nailed us a couple of times on the game on Sunday. So I don't, and if come for me if you want to, I don't care. People will say, oh, we're dirty players. I don't think we're dirty players. I think the biggest problem is, and I wanted to bring this up in this part of it, is before Kareem Jackson got suspended in that game, he reached out to the NFL and said, how do I follow the rule and make this hit? They never answered him, so he had no idea what he was doing wrong. The NFL Players Association has gone to the NFL and said, look, you made these changes with Tua because of the roughing the passer and all of that. You've made some of these other changes because of what's going on. We need to know what is legal and what isn't, because the way the refs are calling these, there is no way to make a legal hit because their heads come like, how? We can't go below the knees because that's considered a top block. You can't go above the head because you'll have your helmets hit. Who's defensible? I mean, literally, how can we do this? So I agree, changes need to be made. The guys need to understand what the rules are and follow. And if you do something like this, especially if you're a Denver Bronco cornerback or safety right now, you're going to get the foul. It's just going to happen. But the NFL has to figure out the difference between these two. Like, how do you keep safety and more scoring, but also allow a defense to be a defense?
Yeah. No, there's a lot there, honestly, and I'm glad you're going to be unpacking this over the weeks, because I think there's, like I said, there's a lot of information, and we truly do appreciate you looking into this and giving us this information, because I would have never known the damn difference, and I would have just been like, all right, whatever. The refs just suck. You know what I mean? But they're, like you said, with so many different interpretations of the rule, I guess you could see how sometimes they probably confuse themselves with this. So, yeah.
Right.
Good stuff overall. So, and I just,
And just so everybody knows, I kind of talked about I was going to do Radovich and we would talk about collective bargaining and all of that. I've kind of pushed that one off to the side because I personally think talking about some of these fouls, and also I'm going to go into instant replay and what's reviewable and what's not reviewable and that kind of stuff, so that, because we're going to get into the later games and there's going to be a game that somebody's going to fuss about, that the refs were out to get them or have the conversation. And I just want people to kind of like be knowledgeable about it, because you're going to get somebody that's going to say, no, you're wrong. And we all do that. We argue calls all the time. I mean, I sat on Sunday telling some of my best friends to sit down and be quiet because that's just going to get called.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. You are correct. Well, thank you again, Tina. No, go ahead. I just want to make sure we're all good with
the corner office.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for this week. But believe me, there's more to come with that for sure. So let us move on then. We will go on to the man of the hour, the man with the power. What else can I say about him? I don't know. Every week I just try to come up with a different adjective for Anthony, and he just looks at me like I'm crazy. So it's time for Handy in his rookie spotlight. So take it away there, Handy. You're muted, sir. Take the mute off.
I'm starting to think, and that's become a weekly thing too now. I'm starting to think this, 'cause I realize like there's a delay when you hit the button, but it's almost like every week you say, and now is Mr. Handy with the rookie spotlight, and I'm waiting on the intro. And then when it doesn't come, I go to start talking, and then the intro comes in. I'm like, damn it, they got me again. But I realize it's a little delay, but it seemed like y'all be doing that to me every week on purpose. Or maybe that's just me. I'm crazy. Anyway, hello, how's everybody doing? Good evening. I hope I started saying welcome to the show. We've been on for over an hour. But if you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in. The Roundtable and Let's Talk Football, the Roundtable. I am Anthony, and I am here today with your rookie spotlight. Today's rookie spotlight comes to us by way of Provo, Utah. Provo, Utah. Whew. That sounds like a BYU guy right there. That definitely does. Well, if you guessed that, you would be absolutely correct. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Puka Nacua, birth name Makia, born May 2001 in Provo, Utah. He is of Samoan, Hawaiian, and Portuguese descent. For those of you wondering about the name, the nickname Puka means fat and chubby in Samoan. He was a little bit of a chubby baby, or as we like to call him, a chunk. He did grow up in Provo, Utah. He finished his high school career with 260 catches, totaling 5,000 over 5,200 yards. I wasn't gonna count out all them numbers. I count numbers at work. I wasn't gonna count all of them out here. He finished his high school career with over 5,200 yards and 58 receiving touchdowns. Both of those are still Utah State records. He wound up starting out his college career at the University of Washington. He played 8 games in his freshman season. Before he broke his foot. He had 9 receptions for 151 yards and a touchdown in 3 games during the 2020 COVID season. After that season, he jumped in the portal and went to, anybody remember what school that was? I said he probably went to because he grew up in Provo, Utah. Good. I knew you could. That's right. Brigham Young University. That's where he transferred for the 2021 season. He wound up catching 43 passes for 805 yards, 6 touchdowns. In the 2022 season, he had another 625 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns on 48 receptions. Finished his college career with, now, his receiving total was not staggering. He only had 1,749 yards total in the 4 years that he played football, college football. But he did impress the scouts enough after the combine to get selected by, and with the 177th overall pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Makia Puka Nakua, wide receiver, BYU. He got picked up by Los Angeles, and he's pretty much been off and running. Cooper Kupp got hurt. He stepped up in the pocket. Stepped up like he's a quarterback. I just said he was a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver, not a quarterback. But wide receivers have pockets too when they put their jeans on after the game. He stepped up, took Cooper Kupp's place. He has not looked back. He's had a very impressive season thus far. So far, 8 games in, he's got 795 yards on 61 receptions. He's only got a couple of touchdowns, but he's averaging about 13 yards a catch. Very, very serviceable wide receiver. He's on pace to finish the season right now where he is. He's on pace to finish the season with over 1,400 yards receiving this season. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is very impressive. He finished with over 1,000 yards receiving during an NFL season. To include a week 7, maybe is week 8. I don't know. I don't have it pulled up. I did my research. 158-yard performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a loss. It was week 7. It says it right there. It's right in front of my face. It's whew. Welcome to 53. Week 7, 154 yards, not 158 yards on 8 receptions. That's what I meant to say. Now, they did come up short in a loss. The thing about this kid is he looks really big and imposing when you see him on television. Now, he's not as big as he looks. He's just a hair under 6'2" and about 201 pounds. But he is very dexterous. He's got soft hands. He's able to, catch balls, catch passes in tight spots. I've seen him make a couple of, watching the highlights, make a couple of really crazy slide catches where he's sliding to catch the ball and having to reach behind him to catch it. Very soft hands. And once he gets to going, he's not exceptionally fast. His 40 time is fairly average for a wide receiver. But once he gets going, he's kind of hard. He's a little hard to catch and hard to bring down. And like I said, he's been a very valuable asset to the Rams this season in the absence of Cooper Kupp. Where's Cooper Kupp? I don't know. I think he's still on injured reserve. Anyway, I digress. Puka Nakua, Los Angeles Rams, on pace to do great things, as I say every week, for the franchise. If you are in an area where the Rams are being broadcast on Sunday or Thursday or Monday and now on Black Friday, give the Rams a look and look out for this guy, because I think he is going to step up and be the next generation of great receivers in a history of a franchise that has had a history of great receivers. If you remember the Greatest Show on Turf during the Super Bowl run during the early 2000s, I think this kid will fit right in, right at home. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's Rookie of the Week, Makia Puka. Back to you, Nick. I forgot to say that.
All righty. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Hayden. Of course, we have been watching Puka all year, and yeah, in the absence of Cooper Kupp, that kid has been phenomenal. Just the Rams have had all kinds of troubles with quarterbacks and all that stuff, so we'll have to watch Puka very closely the next few years, see what happens with him. Let's move on now to a segment that's near and dear to my heart, because I just like to pick things, and I think it's fun. So it's time for, of course, Nick's Picks. Here we go. All right, thank you very much. And of course, as always, I pick 4 games every week. So this week is no different. Let's get right into it. Tina, your Broncos, like as you mentioned earlier, take on the Texans. Now, I found this very interesting. Going into this game, the Texans are actually favored. And I just thought that was very interesting because maybe because it's a home game, I think, for the Texans. I don't know. But I'm believing in your Broncos right now, Tina. I've always been a Russell Wilson fan. I like Russ. As you said, he's probably more of a game manager at this point, but your defense has come on. You guys are playing well. So I'm going to go ahead and take your Broncos plus that 3.5 points this week against those upstart Houston Texans. So yeah, Broncos plus 3.5. My next game, Chiefs-Packers. I mean, yeah, the Packers are who we thought they were, right? Like, I mean, Jordan Love has had a good season, to be honest with you. He's done better than I anticipated, given that he's had injury at his running back and he doesn't really have a top flight receiver. He's got Christian Watson, but they're running into the Chiefs this week, and I think the Chiefs just know that they have to continue to win to try to get that number 1 seed there in the AFC. And, Tina's favorite, Kermit the Frog, always finds a way to pull stuff out. Obviously, the Chiefs are favored in this game. Now that Taylor Swift's Brazil tour is done, maybe she'll be at this game, so Travis will actually have a good game because she'll be there. So I'm going to take the Chiefs minus the 6.5 points that they're giving up to the Packers, because I do think they can beat Green Bay by at least a touchdown. So I'll take the Chiefs and Taylor Swift minus 6.5 points this week. We have Colts-Titans as my next game. The Colts are a little bit of a surprise. You thought maybe after losing Anthony Richardson, what would happen? But Gardner Minshew has stepped in and played very well. He's a very solid backup, but he's actually become the starter, so he's the guy there. And the Titans have always been hit or miss this year. They've had good games, they've had bad games. But this is only a 2-point line. And the Colts are favored by only, it's -2. They're favored by 2 points. But I do think that they could beat the Titans by at least a field goal. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Colts -2 points this week. And then, of course, my final game is the big one this week. This is, not necessarily for all the marbles, but this is probably one of the most important matchups of the NFC this season. You have 49ers-Eagles, which was a rematch of the NFC Championship game last year. We all know what happened there. Brock Purdy goes down. Josh Johnson comes in, doesn't go well. Eagles slaughter the 49ers. This year could be different. I don't know. It's a 3-point line, and the 49ers are favored. And I just feel like the Eagles are finding a way to win regardless. We also what happened in Buffalo last week. You got to think that Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate right now with the way the team is and the way he's playing. So I'm going to go ahead and take those Eagles, who are the underdog, plus the 3 points this week in the NFC Championship rematch. So just to recap real quickly, Broncos-Texans, I'm taking the Broncos plus 3.5. Chiefs-Packers, we'll take the Chiefs minus the 6.5. The Colts and the Titans will take the Colts with the -2, and 49ers Eagles will take the Eagles +3. So that's Nick's picks for this week. Tune in next time, see how I did, and we'll go from there. Thank you all very much for watching. All right, beautiful. Well, as always, we've come to the end of the road, end of the show, however you want to do it. I'm not going to sing this week because I wore out my voice last night singing Kiss songs for about 2 hours, so we're not going to go there. But it is time for one last thought, as always, and this is just, I thought this would be a little fun thing to do this week, is just kind of, talk real briefly about what the Christmas season kind of means to us. Since we are now officially past Thanksgiving, it's time for the holiday season, and I figured that'd be just a cute little thing to talk about. So, Handy, my man, we'll start with you. Christmas season for you. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What happens? What do you do? What do you like?
I am one of those people. I had to check and make sure I wasn't muted. That that I won't beat people up for getting in the Christmas spirit way early. But for me, just the thing about Christmas was the thing for me at Christmas is right after Thanksgiving, putting up the tree, and we would kind of kick things off with, I want to know how Mariah Carey totally leapfrogs Donny Hathaway as the signature Christmas song, because that song to me is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's Mariah, she did all right. She did all right with the Christmas song or whatever. But I joke, she nailed it. It's just, it has become a staple every year and a great meme. Donny Hathaway is the thing for me. At my age, I grew up on Donny Hathaway, Roberta Flack. That song so embodies Christmas to me. And my parents had an album, I think they still have it, produced by Columbia Records. Tells you how old it is. When they still had it, CBS had a division that pressed records that had stuff like the Mills Brothers singing Jingle Bells, and the Carpenters singing Merry Christmas, Darling, and Judy Garland, Silver Bells, and that kind of thing. Yeah. But the thing that most embodies Christmas for me, and it's so way off the ranch, my parents bought an ornament that was a little birdhouse with a little bird in it, and you would flip the switch and it would chirp about once every couple of minutes. That birdhouse has been on my parents' Christmas tree every year. Now they don't turn it on. Now Mom doesn't turn it on now. But that thing, if Christmas comes, I told Mom when I told Mom, if y'all predecease me, I want that ornament. Okay, I want that ornament. I mean, I'll turn it on and it'll be on, and I'll let it chirp a couple times, and then I'll turn it off because it's gonna get on everybody else's nerves. But I will have satisfied my Christmas, my Christmas. That is what Christmas always meant to me coming up.
All right. Sounds great. No, that's it. You know what? That's so cool though too. That, like you said, you have this ornament that's probably however many years old that your parents, that your mom still has. Yeah, like that is incredible. And that's part of it too. But go ahead, Tina. I'll let you go next. Christmas season for you. What does it mean? What do you like? How does it go?
So he's talking about that Christmas ornament. The reason I was laughing is we had something like that too. And my dad put it in the tree, and our 95-pound Labrador Retriever took the tree out, trying to get to the bird.
Oh, God. I just thought about that. We didn't have a dog then, and now we have Luna.
That's funny. Wow.
He didn't ruin anything on the tree. It wasn't like completely up yet. But anyway, so then for the rest of that season, that Christmas season, my dad would plug it in somewhere in the house, and Jericho would go find it and okay. So tradition in my house, just because my parents both had very large families. We were at my dad's house on Christmas Eve, and we were at my mom's house on Christmas Day. So for me, mine revolves around a lot of traveling. So the one thing that I always do every year, and I've done for a number of years, is I plop myself down and I watch almost as much of the 24 hours of A Christmas Story
So, yeah.
every year. I love that movie. I'm not a huge fan of some of the others, but like the CBS animatronics ones, the little claymation ones with like Heat
Oh,
Meister
yeah.
and all those. It's the shows for me. It's Grinch,
Yeah.
it's the animatronic ones, and it's A Christmas Story and A Christmas Vacation. So
Yeah.
those are the things that I watch all the time. My dad actually bought me last year a full-sized leg lamp from
No,
A
it's
Christmas Story.
fragile. It's Italian.
It even
It's
comes in a
great.
box that says
Yes.
Fragile on
Yes.
it. It is
Yo-yo.
life size.
You use all the glue on purpose.
Oh
So,
my
I
God,
mean,
that
for
is
me,
incredible. I love that.
yeah,
I love that.
I couldn't believe he did it. But this is a man
That's
that sat
amazing.
there when I would watch it. He'd like, I hate this movie. I hate this movie. I hate this movie. This movie's stupid. Why do you like this movie? He buys me the leg lamp. So that, and I throw a
That's
Christmas
awesome.
party. I throw a Christmas party every year and decorate the
Oh,
place.
nice.
So for me, it's
Sweet.
just more about getting together with family and friends and that, and
Yeah.
watching things that, like Grinch everywhere and crap and stuff like that. So I wish I had like the
Awesome.
sweet little things, but that's not really kind of how my dad treated Christmas. It was jokes and fun and things like that. So
Hey,
that's
that's
my
great. I
Christmas.
think that's great. That's hilarious.
I will take
Delilah, how
pictures of the
about
leg
you?
lamp and post it.
Yeah, for sure. We have to see that. But Delilah, how about you? Christmas, great time. You know, you
Yeah, I
family,
like
all
the
that. What do you think?
yeah, I like the holidays now. When I worked retail, I didn't.
Yeah, I think we all did.
I spent a lot of my time working retail as a manager,
Uh-huh.
and I also managed 2 different toy stores.
Oh,
So
you poor soul.
yes, one of them
Oh,
was
wow.
one of them was Lego for 5 years.
Oh,
Lord.
wow.
So for a long time, I was
You were
not.
the Grinch?
Yes, I was not a fan. Now I went home, and when I was with family, I was happy because I was, we do all the music and dancing and having a good time. But
Yeah.
going to work and having to deal with like people saying you're ruining their holiday, and it's like
Yeah.
you waited until not, and it was just so for a long. And then the holiday music, forever and ever in rotation. You couldn't escape Wamageddon. It was impossible to play that game if you work retail because you're gonna hear the original, right? Everybody heard of that Christmas game, Wamageddon, right? Can you go the whole month of this? Not the whole month of December, but from December 1st through Christmas Eve midnight without hearing the original Wham.
Oh.
So they call it Wamageddon.
Oh.
You can hear everything else. You can hear remixes. You can hear people covering it. But can you actually avoid the original song? And, obviously, when you're retail, you can't. It's impossible. So, but I do like the holiday cheer. I do enjoy the peppermint mochas, the praline, the food, the family, the warmth. Don't get mad at customer service people for saying happy holidays. So I just want to say that. Stop it. Stop harassing employees. We're saying happy holidays because I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of holidays besides Christmas that happen at the same time, like Hanukkah.
Yeah.
So,
Kwanzaa. Like, there's a lot of different things. Yeah.
Oh, please
Let me
stop.
stop you right there, Missy, because everybody knows that Jesus' birthday, our Lord and Savior, that's the only holiday that matters in the month of December.
Yes, I just want to make sure. Please don't berate the customer service people who say happy holidays. They don't have a choice in that. They have to.
Yeah, they're required to say it. Like if your boss, your boss is there and he doesn't hear you say happy holidays to the customer, you're in trouble.
Don't beat them up on it, okay? Yeah. I want everyone to understand that. But anyway, no. But I do like the food with my family. It's always a nice time. And so I do look forward to the music. And, I'm Puerto Rican. And so we celebrate with coquito. We celebrate with what we call
Pasteles.
pasteles, which are
That's
Puerto Rican
right.
tamales. You know, I hate
Yeah.
saying Puerto Rican tamales, but that's the
Right,
closest
but-
I can go to describing it. And all the delicious food, and then the music is fun, it's joyful, you know. And so yeah, I do look forward to all the whole festivities and the lights. I do like the twinkling lights and the going around, like, it's, you know, going to decorations. I like imbibing in the pop-ups. I know it's cheesy, but it's fun.
Yep.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
100%. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I so buy into Christmas, and I love, this is my favorite time of the year always. Like, I will never not enjoy this. I don't care what's going on. Like, Christmas is always, I mean, and my mom, you know, too, with being around, like, my mom decorates right away. So, like, if you see, you know, I'm downstairs, of course, but she's upstairs. But you go upstairs, and Christmas exploded all over the house. Like, there's stuff everywhere, trees up, stuff on the walls, stuff on the couches, and it's just festive. It's great. You get into the mood. Like, you know, I always used to go, maybe not so much anymore, just for other reasons, but I used to go downtown every year, look at the windows, look at the Christmas tree. You know, I did all that, and I would always do that because I thought, man, this is a great way to get yourself into the Christmas mood. You know, I'm working Winterfest this year at Wrigley, and so walking in there, like, we just started, you know, last week, but walking in there and just seeing everything, like, they're piping in the Christmas music the whole time, like, it's just fun. You know, you see the little kids come in and they're excited because they want to skate. Like, it just makes me so, I smile just the whole day because I'm like, this is so great. And I do. I've always been a big Christmas guy. I buy into everything. Yes, I even like Mariah Carey's song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, is fabulous. You hear it all the time, but it's still a great song. You know, yeah. So I buy into all of it. I think it's great. I love this time of year. And then also, too, it's the ending of the year, you know, a lot of the times you start gearing up for the new year. And, you know, so it's also a reflective time for me because I kind of look back at the last year and go, okay, what happened? What's good? What was bad? What can you take into the new year? What do you try to eliminate in the new year? So I always look forward to this time of year. I think Christmas is great, and it's definitely something that I always look forward to. So, of course, we want to thank everyone. That's our show for this week. But before we go, I have a special shout out I'd like to give, if you'll allow me just another minute or so. November 28th today is a birthday for a very special friend of mine. I have known this young lady for 32 years. Yes, we dated for a little while. That didn't work out that way. But we caught up, you know, a few years after that. We've been friends, you know, again, ever since the early 2000s. And today she turns 50, and she's actually, you know, been a fan of the show and kind of talked to me about it and that kind of stuff. And yes, she is very special to me. Again, outside of my family, I don't carry too many people with me. I have a small circle. I mean, I love you guys. You guys are my friends. But there's very few people I truly carry, like, in my heart with me that I feel are special to me in that sense. Georgia, you are one of them. It is your birthday today. Happy 50th birthday. You know I love you. You know how I feel about you. Have a great day. I know you're out doing some stuff with your other buddies. So have a great day. You know, I'll catch up with you later. And happy birthday. Welcome to 50. It's not as bad as they say. So there you go. All right. Well, listen, another great show in the books. We appreciate you all sticking with us. Thank you, Sean, for joining us as well in the coin toss. For Anthony Handy, Tina Winter, Delilah Crespo, and myself, Nick Rosario, have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye.
Peace out.